Playoff matchups are set. This morning, a lot of you tuned in. I myself did not because I knew that it was going to take a little while, but eventually I, like the rest of you, found out who's going to play. Who's the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4? Georgia last night, I saw them in Atlanta. I'll talk about that game in a little while. They are the 1 seed. They are favored by 6.5 as it stands right now against Ohio State, the 4 seed. They're going to play in Atlanta. Georgia just gets to go there at their leisure whenever they want to. And then Michigan minus 9.5. That's where the Wolverines open in the Fiesta Bowl against TCU. There's been a lot of old notions shot down as of late. We're going to do a lot of revision on the show tonight, actually, because I am of the opinion that when things are said, we shouldn't just forget them. That includes predictions that go wrong. That includes predictions that go right. But do you remember this? Do you remember the committee will never let the G5 in the playoff? Remember how that all of a sudden went silent this time last year because, Cincinnati got put in the playoff? Then the same casuals who told you that told you, well, they're only in there because there were no other options. Yeah, that's kind of always the way it was going to work with the G5, guys. The point is, there was never a barrier. There was just a really, really big hurdle that the G5 had to clear. Well, then, I've heard from the Horned Frog Mafia for a long time that you guys thought you got screwed back in 2015. I understand why you feel that way. That's okay. But then separate and apart from that, you also told me, oh man, they're going to value brands. They're not going to put TCU in. If TCU loses, they're going to be out. They have to be perfect. The bar is infinitely higher for TCU than the brands out there. Well, TCU's in, and they lost yesterday. And not only did they lose and make it in, they didn't even drop to the 4 seed. So a lot of notions out there that were always garbage. There was never truth to them. It's just that you had to make it happen in order for it to happen. All of a sudden, it's happening. And once again, friends, let's go back. Like I said, a lot of revision tonight. You get told just like I do. Look at this defensive posture I'm in. You get told just like I do every spring, every summer, same 4 teams make it in every year. And yet here we are, almost a decade into the playoff era. And once again, we have never had the same 4-team field duplicated. To this day, the same 4 teams have never made the playoff in any order. We have never had the same 4-team field twice. Those are the lies that they have told you and continue to tell you. Now, let's talk about some lies about Alabama, because we're going to have all the time in the world to break down the games. So congrats to Georgia. Talk about them later. Congrats to TCU, Michigan, Ohio State. Hey, we put both of them in the playoff in the preseason, if you'll recall. Now, I had Utah in there too, so let's call that like it is. That's a whiff. But I did have Michigan and Ohio State in the playoff, and a lot of people, Jesse, did not rush to my defense. I think Colin may have a little bit, but a lot of people slandered me. Said, you idiot, do you realize they play the last game of the year? And I'm like, no, I don't really know college football schedules all that well, guys. It is unfamiliar to me, the concept that rivals play on rivalry weekend. Yeah, I knew all that. I just thought the field was going to be open enough. And it was. As it turns out, they needed some help, did the Buckeyes, but it was open enough still. But we'll talk about all that. But I first want to get to what I am affectionately referring to as the Alabama conundrum. There's a lot of noise about the Crimson Tide potentially backing into the 4-team playoff once TCU lost yesterday. And I was of the opinion that short of a blowout loss, that wasn't going to happen. And to be clear now, once I saw them lose, them being TCU, and still get put at number 3, I'm not sure how big that margin of defeat was going to have to be to put Bama in. But nevertheless, there I am leaving Mercedes-Benz Stadium last night, and the iJosh starts blowing up. And people keep telling me, can you believe what Nick Saban's doing? And I'm like, what? Watching TV like the rest of us at home because he's not playing today? No. Can you believe what he just said on Fox? And I'm like, on Fox? What? And then I remembered Nick Saban can do anything he wants to, and he can probably appear on any screen he wants to at any time. And there he was, Nick Saban, lobbying, pleading on behalf of his team to get one more shot. Give us one more shot. And he did what I never thought I'd hear Nick Saban do, and I wish a lot of you wouldn't do, and that is talk about hypothetical point spreads. He went down that road. In fairness, he went down that road because there's no other road for him to go down. He lost 2 games. They don't have any really, really phenomenal wins on the resume. So Nick Saban was out of cards. He had a handful of cards, and it dwindled to 1, and that 1 card was, well, we'd be favored. Kind of like we were against Tennessee and lost. Kind of like we were against LSU and lost. Yeah, we'd be favored. Yeah, you would. And it doesn't matter. Now, I'm not giving Nick Saban a pass. It was pretty weak to hear from Nick Saban. But I will level with you. I think he knows that's BS. Okay, I think Nick Saban understands once that camera shut off, once that producer in Nick Saban's ear said, all right, we're clear, thanks, coach, and he knew he was off the air, he probably went to take a shower because he felt gross having to ask the committee rhetorically, would we be favored or would we be an underdog? He knows how ridiculous that is. He didn't have any other card to play. That's Nick Saban. A lot of other people don't know better. And a lot of other people were really coming at me with that this morning and this afternoon. Well, who's the better team, Josh? Not who's most deserving. The committee's supposed to put in the best team, not the most deserving team. What's the difference? As it relates to the playoff, in best team and most deserving team, I really don't think people know what they're asking for. I truly don't. This is why, as I tweeted out earlier, I regret the day that the concept of power ratings and the concept of odds making and hypothetical neutral field matchups ever went mainstream. Because it's like putting sugar in the hands of a small child. They don't know how to handle it. And it's like putting information in the hands of very reckless and agenda-driven people. They don't know how to handle it. I got folks coming at me saying because Bama would be favored over Michigan, who they probably would, Bama would be favored easily over TCU, which they would, that means they belong in over them. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Here's what you're suggesting, by the way, because I got news for you. If Bama lost a third game, they'd still be favored over TCU, guys. Do you just think that they should continue losing and losing and losing, and because they'd be favored over at least one of the 14 participants, they should be in? Is that how you think that should work? Nobody out there is that dumb. There's no way you seriously think like that. And you're talking to someone here who doesn't even acknowledge the AP poll, who only traffics in power ratings. But I also clearly draw the line, not in pencil, but in pen. And I tell you, these are power ratings. These are for entertainment purposes only. In no shape, form, or fashion should you think this is how I believe the College Football Playoff Committee should rank teams. Because we play the games for a reason. This stuff right here, paper, is just that. I want you to watch something. Let's do a little exercise here. Okay? Colin, just stay with me. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something on this piece of paper right now. I'm going to put Bama minus 10, okay? They're favored on the piece of paper. Now watch what happens. Did you see how easy that was? Just like LSU made it look pretty easy, just like Tennessee made it look pretty easy, and it doesn't matter if you'd be favored. So that's one point I wanted to make. The other point I wanted to make is that November did the job for you again. Do you remember a month ago? Time for some more revision. Do you remember a month ago, there was this one Monday where pretty much everyone's take in the entire college football public was, oh my goodness, we're not going to have enough playoff spots. Is this the year that we run out of playoff spots? Is this the year where we needed to expand the playoff? Because we had so many teams undefeated or with one loss, and it looked like we were headed for just utter and total chaos. And I bravely came on this show and I said, let's just let it play out. November's a very long month. I know it only looks like 4 weeks on the calendar, but buddy, there are a lot of programs out there posing as playoff contenders who don't have enough gas in the tank. And we really quickly went from we're not going to have enough playoff spots to might we have a couple too many playoff spots again? And the answer is yes, we did. Another perfect year where the BCS would have solved the problem for you. And the thing you started arguing about in the end was whether one pretty flawed team should make it in over another pretty flawed team. Now, for those of you who favor expansion, this makes no sense to you. Hit the mute button for about the next 10 seconds. But for those of us who believe the bar should be incredibly high to play for the highest honor in the sport, we don't mind that some people are mad at the end of the year. I remember thinking that back when they first instituted the idea, the mere concept of a playoff period. It seemed like the reason they were implementing it is because some people got mad. And I thought to myself, that's not the worst thing in the world. People being mad is not the worst thing in the world. Well, to some folks it was. Yeah, November, you know, Meemaw used to say all the time, do not be filling out your postseason bracket before you have filled your Halloween candy bag. Do not start making conclusions on the playoff before you've even gotten into November. November makes cowards of a lot of people. November makes pretenders of a lot of programs, and it did this year again. So, where do we head now? Well, we're headed, obviously, to a playoff game. I will be listening to your suggestions as to which playoff game we should go to. One of them is in Atlanta. Nice short drive down 24-75 for us. I just made it last night. Or we could fly to the desert and we could go watch Michigan TCU. We got a little while to decide. The other thing that Jesse walks up to me, welcome back, producer Jesse. He said to me today, I've got a graphic for you if you want it. I said, that's interesting. What's on it? And he said, it's what a 12-team playoff field would look. Shh. Don't finish that sentence, Jesse. And I want you to take that graphic and I want you to hit delete and then don't come to me with that anymore. Jesse's just doing his job. I'm just doing my job. We will not be showing you any hypothetical 12-team playoff graphics here until we absolutely have to. Translation, until it's not hypothetical anymore, until we actually get to that godforsaken format in 2024. Clemson, shame on you. You had the world at your fingertips and you screwed it up. Bama, shame on you. You put the committee in position where they could keep you out. Not the other way. They didn't keep you out. You kept yourself out. Penn State, although they played great football in the back half of the season, I keep thinking to myself, that Ohio State game got really lopsided really quickly, and it was competitive until it wasn't. And that's a game where JT Tuimoloau kind of took it over, but I keep thinking back, as we always do, what could have changed? One or two plays. What could have been the difference? But I especially think about Tennessee. And I especially think about Clemson. And I think about Shane Beamer and how he was the wrecking ball. Shane Beamer, and the South Carolina Gamecocks, not even in Cocktober, mind you, were the chaos agents in the college football playoff mix. And that, my friends, is one of many reasons why it's every given Saturday in this sport. Not any, every given Saturday. Because there's not a single Saturday, if you go back and trace the lineage of this season, where there weren't multiple things that happened that ultimately impacted what we came to know as the 4-team college football playoff field this year. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.